Greetings, everyone, and a warm welcome back to Cranberry Scoop TV. I'm Kelly, your host, here to wish you a joyful Older Americans Month. Let's even keep the celebration going through June, too. Here at the Dennis Center for Active Living, we're embracing the spring season with an array of activities as invigorating as a gentle breeze on Cape Cod. Ready to jump into the excitement? Let's get started. Exciting news for our community caregivers in the community as we welcome a very new and exciting multicultural respite program at DeKalb. Spearheaded by Mari and Rosa, this initiative promises to be a sanctuary offering well-deserved breaks with activities in both Spanish and Portuguese. So, let's please welcome Mari and Rosa, who will share with us the heart of this program and what it means for our community.
I'm Annie Catalano, victim advocate with the Yarmouth Police Department. In 2020 alone, there were more than 100 incidents of abuse, fraud, or neglect reported by someone over the age of 60. I joined the Elder Abuse Coalition to let the local community know that I'm here to help connect you with support services and safety options.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. Today we have two very lovely ladies joining us. We have Mari and Rosa. They are going to be heading the new Multicultural Wellness Respite Program at DeKalb. And we've been having a very good time here getting ready to do this interview. They are quite the duo. And I'm very excited for you to meet them and hear all about them and their journey and their stories and about what they're going to be starting at DeKalb. So I want everybody to meet Mari and Rosa.
Hi.
Hello,
Yes.
everyone.
So why don't we start with you, Mari? Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and just, you know.
Okay. Well, I am Marinete Matos, Mari for short, and I have started recently working for the town of Dennis, the DeKalb, and on a partnership with two other towns, the Yarmouth and Barnstable. I am former, or still am, translator and interpreter. I do have a small boutique-style translation business here on Cape Cod, and I worked for years doing interpretation for all sorts of industries and talking to people from all over the world. But I had a secret passion, and that secret passion was of knowledge of Brenda Vasquez, who's the director of DeKalb. And so she started the project, and then I became a volunteer for another nonprofit, local nonprofit. And when I stepped out of that role, I think she felt I was the right person for the role. And she said, there are 2 positions open, why don't you apply? So I did. And I became the Latino Respite Coordinator for the DeKalb in the town of Dennis.
That is very interesting journey there. So so you're talking about language, so Portuguese, and so where are you from? So
I'm originally from Brazil, and between my comes and going, there has been 36 years here on Cape Cod. So yeah, I consider myself a Cape Codder.
Yes, so I have to let the audience in on the little secret. I did know that because Mari has worked in the Destination Respite Program with me, where she shared a wonderful story about her journey of coming to the United States and about her growing up in Brazil and the Amazon rainforest, which I'm still fascinated by, but also your mother, who is still aging. Yes. And living in Brazil.
My mother is 88 years old. She is aging, and she is still living at her own home. We provide care 24 hours, and my sisters and brothers take over on the weekends.
Yeah, so how did you end up on the language journey and becoming an interpreter? How did you end up from Brazil coming to the US?
Well, I grew up with an Italian grandmother yelling at us in Italian.
So a lot of people may relate to that.
So I kind of found out very early in life that there were other languages than the one I spoke. And when I finished high school back in Brazil, we didn't have the means to go to college or anything. Life was very hard back then. So a language school came to my city, and my sister called me. She said, "Why don't we go learn English?" It just so happened that I had English as a second language from 5th grade to the end of high school. And I had a great teacher for 4 years. Her name was Arlete. And she always told me that I had an easy for languages. I remember not studying very much and dominating things that people didn't. And so when I went to English school, a year and a half later, they invited me to take a teaching position test, and I did. And I passed, and I started being a student and then a children's teacher.
You must have the opposite brain from me, because I took Spanish, I think, for 8 or 10 years, and I still can't speak it. But we do have one thing in common, and that is our love for older adults. And I think that is what has brought you to where you are today, which is in this role of starting this multicultural wellness program that's going to be launching at DeKalb. And people may be wondering, well, why Portuguese? And that's actually because Portuguese is the second most spoken language on Cape Cod besides English, third being Spanish. And that is something that you both speak. So Rosa, where do you come into the mix? Because you two are quite the duo. These two had me cracking up before we started this. So how did your journey come to meet Mari here and come into this role?
So first of all, I'm Rosa Lobo. I met Marinette about 15 years ago. She used to help me in my papers,
The studies
and other things. So I met this woman, and I know who she is. And I love to work with her to develop this program that, as you said, called Destination Respite, which is aimed to elderly population that speak Portuguese and Spanish. I'm sorry. First of all, I would like to say I'm sorry for my language, because different than Mari, I learned English by myself. I didn't go to school. I am a businesswoman. I have lived here in Cape Cod for about 20 years.
Oh, you have. Now, where are you originally from?
From Brazil.
Okay.
Too. Yes, different city than Marinette. So I'm here for about 20 years. And I'm a businesswoman, but before I come to be a businesswoman, I worked at McDonald's. I worked as a housekeeper, and I worked for some cleaning company for a long time. And after 8 years, I bought my own company, which is a cleaning company. And 4 years ago, I opened another company, which is rental cleaning company. So I rent everything for people who come to their vacation, Cape Cod, so they don't have enough room to bring everything on their car. So I rent everything online, and I drop in their door, so they have everything that they need for their vacation.
What a great idea. And I think that's really a story of the American dream of working your way here and all the way from the three jobs into a business owner of just success and buying a house and kids, and that's a great story. And then transitioning into meeting Mari, and then your passion for older people.
Yes.
Yes.
Besides to be a businesswoman, I am passionate for elderly, as I told you. When I was born, my father was 53 years old. So maybe that's why I love elderlies. I have a lot of credentials, and all of them is toward to elderly.
You're a counselor, right?
Yes, I'm a life coach. I'm a chaplain. I'm a CNA.
She's ready.
And other things.
She might be doing some marriages at this respite program. We better be careful.
Yeah. And now I'm involved with this project. I'm to elderly population that speak English and Portuguese. So this program, Spanish, sorry. This program, I like this program because it's something that offers to the caregivers the opportunity to have like
Absolutely.
1 or 2 days off.
Absolutely.
While we care of their loved ones.
Absolutely.
This is the point for me. I'm doing something to them, people who like to care other people,
Yeah,
you know?
what's happening to me, it's ever since all of this started, I can't stop thinking of ways to make it better and better and make it comfortable for the elders.
Yes.
And we call them terceira idade or better
Yes.
idade. which
And
means
so
better aging.
this program can also, people who speak English could come.
Of course.
Yes. But it is going to have that flair of from you two, which is amazing. So we're going to do some Portuguese, we're going to do some Spanish, and tell me a little bit more of what you guys are hoping for the program to be like for people who are watching at home who may have some questions on just what it's going to be like.
Yes, we are going to transport your elder to the center, and there we are serving breakfast. We are following with activities all directed to cognitive and to better their cognitive.
Help them, yeah.
Yes, and then we'll have exercises and dances and music and everything, and then we'll have lunch, which is going to follow cultural customs.
Yes.
So in the Latin world, because it's so warm, we have our largest meal in the middle of the day.
Right.
So we are and dinner is kind of a small thing. So that's what we are going to serve: hearty meals that they are used to from the time that they are most likely to remember, which is their youth. What we want in the program is to create that cognitive connection.
Right.
Yes.
And have them, although they probably will have or not determined that they are cognitive impaired, we can prevent that too, by making new connections.
Yes, I think this is great. So if people are watching at home and they have questions, they can call the center, they can email you, and we're hoping that this program is going to start in June.
Yes. June 7th.
June 7th is the ideal start date, and this is going to be at Decal. This is going to be a great addition to the community, a great resource, and I'm very excited.
Even if you're not Latin and you like to be immersed in that culture, well, everyone is welcome. We will have a little problem if someone that speaks French comes over because I don't speak French.
Well, you do have the language brain. I think, Portuguese and Spanish have been identified as the second and third language.
Yes.
So that's where that has come from. But maybe one day if we noticed there was a lot of French speaking, then that would...
We forgot to mention that the first step I took back in November when they asked me to come into this and be outreach coordinator, I started with the volunteers.
Yeah.
Initially, I called 30 people, and I was mentioning this yesterday in the training. I had 14 solid yeses in less than 2 weeks. And I was like, okay, so the training part of the project with the grant and everything wasn't planned. It just kind of happened.
Yep.
And we're in our second round of training. And oh my God, that it's so beautiful. That's how I know my volunteers are not just passionate, they are trained.
Yes. So that's another important thing to note. If you're a volunteer or thinking you may be interested in volunteering, that is, please do give us a call. This is a grant-funded program, so we're very fortunate for that. So yes, please do call, email for more information, and we're very excited.
Yes.
I'm very excited for this.
I am excited.
Yes,
too.
and I really appreciate you ladies coming and telling us about the program and your stories. I think it's been awesome to hear about your journey and coming here to the United States and really working your way towards this, American dream of success and now giving back to the elders of here, I'm very excited.
If the elderly doesn't speak Portuguese or Spanish, but they are from France, they speak French or Italian, and they want to come to our program, if they speak English, it will be awesome.
And
because,
we are going to be speaking the language of love.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
That's right.
She will get out a book and she'll start teaching herself that language. Mari's ready.
I have already went
she's
back
ready.
to my Spanish.
I can tell
And
she's
I'm
ready for a
interested
new
in the
language.
Haitian
So
Creole.
don't feel if you speak a language that hasn't been mentioned that we're not ready to work with that. So I really appreciate you ladies for being here today, and thank you so much.
Thank you
Cal.
for having us today.
Okay.
We appreciate
Rosa.
that. Thank you.
Everyone knows, in an emergency, you call 911. And do you remember calling 411 for information? But what do you know about 211? If you need help feeding your family and don't know where to turn, you should call 211. If you're a veteran looking for specialized services in your area, you should call 211. If you're unemployed or underemployed and don't know how to find the best opportunities for you, you should call 211. 211 is a free and confidential service that helps people across North America find the local resources that they need. No matter the time or day you find yourself needing help, a trained professional is ready to connect you to the community services around your area. Call 211 or visit 211.org and let us help find you the resources that are right for you. And if you represent a local nonprofit, civic organization, support or advocacy group, or other service agency, you should know if you are signed up with this important and free service. Registering with 211 helps locals connect with your health and human services organization. Whether you help victims of domestic abuse or provide housing assistance, work in addiction services, or run a support group, make sure that your organization is partnering with 211. Contact mass211.org for more information.
A heartfelt thanks to Mari and Rosa for sharing their vision with us. It was truly inspiring to hear about the Multicultural Respite Program, and I'm eager to witness the impact it will have on our community. Here's to its success and the stories that will unfold from this wonderful initiative. Art is the language of the soul, and the Cultural Center of Cape Cod is currently speaking volumes, displaying pieces from our very own Destination Respite and Golden Age Day program. Each piece, a kaleidoscope of colors and textures, tells a story of life's golden years through the eyes of our talented artists here at the center. It's a must-see showcase of creativity and passion, capturing the essence of our unique participants. Be sure to check it out. The art will be featured until June 2nd. Your health is your wealth, and at DeKalb, we're investing heavily. Whether it's about staying limber with our Zumba Gold or nourishing the body with special recipes, we're all about enriching your well-being. And don't forget, mental health is just as important. Our Pearls program is here to uplift and support you. Be sure to contact Julie or Susan in the outreach department for more information. Diving deeper into the pool of community resources, we uncovered gems like the free civil legal help from South Coastal Counties Legal Services. It's a beacon for those 60 and older seeking guidance in a sea of legalities. Let's also stir the pot at Coffee with a Cop, blending community concerns with a splash of conversation. And if you have thoughts or questions that need an official ear, Office Hours with Representative Chris Flanagan are your go-to. But that's not all. Join us for the Community Lunch and Learn, where we digest information on preventing elder abuse over a nourishing meal. It's all about staying connected, informed, and engaged right here in Dennis. Turn the page at a new adventure with Decal's plethora of activities. Swing to the rhythm at our line dance parties, or maybe you'll prefer the quiet camaraderie of our monthly book club or tea and talk. For those with a competitive spirit, the George DeShaw Memorial Golf Tournament awaits. And for the heroes among us, veterans, be sure to explore the array of engaging activities curated by the esteemed Vets and Friends program. It's a tribute to your service and a space to connect with events each month that are just as memorable as the month before and as lively as the community we celebrate. It's your summer, so live it up. Near the heart of our community beats the supportive rhythm of PFLAG Cape Cod. Championing inclusivity, they aim to provide a sanctuary for the LGBTQ+ members and their allies. With resources, support meetings, and unwavering advocacy, they're a beacon of hope and love. Today, we will be joined by PFLAG's president, Joe Lima, to tell us more about their work in the community.
Hi, this is Mary Taylor, Executive Director at Chatham-Marconi Maritime Center. The Chatham-Marconi Maritime Center celebrates the rich history of maritime radio and explores the innovative advances in science and technology through the Marconi RCA Wireless Museum and the Education Center. Marconi RCA Wireless Museum is the former Marconi RCA Wireless Receiving Station, once the busiest ship-to-shore station in the United States and a significant military installation during World War II. The old operations building now houses the Marconi RCA Wireless Museum, which offers exhibits tracing the story of maritime wireless communication in Chatham from its formative days with Marconi through the 20th century. For more information about visiting and to learn about Cape Cod's importance on ship-to-shore communications, please visit chathammarconi.org.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. We have another very special guest today, Joe Lima, the president of PFLAG Cape Cod. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Kelly. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So PFLAG Cape Cod is a new partner for the center as we are moving towards a new strong movement towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if people are watching at home and they may not be familiar with that, I want to kind of start from the beginning, and I want to talk about the organization and really kind of what that may look like and really kind of just what everything is about, and just I kind of want you to tell us everything.
I will tell you as
Yes.
much as I can. I'm happy to.
Yes.
I mean, I am definitely not a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist or a DEI specialist, but at least, you know, in terms of how PFLAG and PFLAG Cape Cod kind of fits into that picture, you know, we bring a particular, I guess, demographic into the broader conversation. And, you know, our organization represents LGBTQ plus people. That would be, for those of you at home, LGBTQ plus generally means people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning. And the plus is for people who kind of fall even outside of that, you know, whether it's intersex, asexual, two-spirit, which is more of a Native American concept. But so we are bringing that community into the broader conversations taking place around the country. So I guess that's where the diversity comes in, as well as the inclusion and equity. So in terms of that community being represented and discussed about more.
Absolutely. And I know that, you were mentioning that at the heart of the organization is support groups. And that is what has brought PFLAG into DECAL. And it's something that we want to have, especially maybe grandparents or older adults that may be intergenerationally with maybe grandchildren or
Exactly.
in their home. So I want to talk maybe about some
Sure.
of these groups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you like, I can also take a quick moment to give maybe a little bit of history
Yeah,
or background on what
absolutely.
PFLAG even
Yes,
is.
let's start there.
Okay, so I brought a book
Yes.
called The Mother of a Movement. So it's a children's book.
And did you draw these pictures?
I would love to take credit for it, Kelly, but I'm afraid I did
Oh.
not. My artistic skills are not that advanced. But anyways, that book is, like I said, it's like a children's book, but it's basically talking about the history of PFLAG, which starts primarily with a mother. Her name was Jean Manford. Now, Jean Manford, back in 1972, she received a call from the hospital telling her that her gay son, Morty, had been beaten up at a gay rights protest. And she was very upset to hear that the police had stood by and done nothing while he and a few others were being, beaten up. So she was really upset about this, and she wrote a letter to the newspaper, and I believe it was the New York Post that published it in 1972. And then she then took and basically the letter was just expressing her outrage over what had happened, and also very publicly in a newspaper, not article, but a letter to the editor, describing her support of her gay son. Remember, this is 1972, 52 plus years ago. And that was really unheard of for a parent to be openly supportive. So anyways, long story short, a few months go by, she then marches with Morty in one of the first, what we now call pride parades, but at that time they were called the Christopher Street Liberation Day March, which were being held annually since 1969 or since 1970 to commemorate the Stonewall riots that happened in 1969. A lot of background, sorry about it. But anyways, so she's marching in this parade with Morty carrying a sign saying, "Parents unite in support of your gay and lesbian children." Once again, publicly walking down a main street, a large street in New York City. During the parade, people, a lot of lesbian and gay people, approached Jean and asked her to talk to their parents, who were not nearly as supportive as she was being with her son. So she realized that there was a real need for some kind of a support group for parents of gay and lesbian people to gather, to talk about their concerns, talk about the lack of understanding, a desire to accept or make sense of it all. So about a year later, in March, I think, of 1973, she, along with other parents, started the very first support group. At that time, the organization, I think, was just called Parents of Gays. I don't even know, to be sure. But then over the years, as more and more of these support groups started popping up around the country because of community need and through word of mouth, all of these different support groups decided to kind of unify under an organization nationally, which at that time was called, I believe, PFLAG, which at the time stood for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. And then over the years, more chapters started forming around the country, creating these support groups where parents and family members, as well as LGBTQ plus people, could meet to talk about, issues of acceptance, understanding, and love. And then in 1989, a chapter was formed on Cape Cod, PFLAG Cape Cod. So we've been around for close to 35 years, which is pretty amazing. And now we offer monthly support meetings online once a month, virtually, I should say, online once a month, in person once a month in Brewster. And now we are starting a hybrid Portuguese language support meeting beginning in May. We've actually had in-person Portuguese language support meetings since last May, but now we're going hybrid next month, which is exciting, or in May.
Yes, kind of ties into our theme of what we are going towards in the center of our Portuguese respite program. But, this is so exciting. But I wanted, how did you get involved with PFLAG? Because this is I'm totally following along with her whole movement. What a pioneer, number one, out there. A mother, that is what it is.
Who was supporting her child.
Absolutely.
Very publicly.
And, just all the other parents out there who were going through this probably alone, thinking maybe nobody else was, but, just what an amazing story. And then it just nationwide,
Yeah.
and it's still going to this day.
Yeah,
A success story.
Exactly. And there are close to, I think it's around 400 chapters all over the country, just in different places. And our Cape Cod chapter, we basically, represent Cape Cod and the islands. So, and then there's a chapter closer to Boston that's like the greater Boston area. And then.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So how did Mr. Joe,
Okay.
I need to know the story, how you got involved.
I'm a gay man. And when I was in college back in the late 80s, I came out at that time, like halfway through my college career. But I was not yet out to my family. So when I would come home for summer break or winter, I was firmly back in the closet. I was still living at home. I eventually graduated from college in 1991. A few months later, I met someone who would eventually become my husband, and to whom I'm married now. Anyway, but when we first met, I was still not out to my family. A few months later, though, I decided to come out to my brothers, my two older brothers and older sister, and they were both very accepting and supportive. But we realized that Mom and Dad were not yet quite ready for me to come out to them about this. So I held off a little while, and in the meantime, I learned about an organization called PFLAG. And I discovered that there was actually a chapter that had support meetings on Cape Cod. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to start going to some of these meetings so I can see what some of these parents are like, who are going there for their own support. And to get a sense of kind of take a temperature of what the parent experience is like when a child of theirs comes out as lesbian or gay.
So this is kind of an opposite perspective. You were going in as a child, trying to see what it would be like.
22, let's just, but I know what you mean. The child of,
as to get that child.
A non-parent.
A perspective to see kind of what they were feeling.
Yeah.
This is so fascinating.
Yeah, because to me, I wanted to get a sense of, first of all, kind of warm up in a sense for the coming out conversation that I knew I needed to have with my parents. So talking to other parents and hearing their stories, how did their kids come out to them? What was it like for them? Was really helpful for me to kind of start to kind of prepare myself for the eventual conversation. And the parents were really supportive and they're very patient and encouraging. And I wasn't the only gay person that went to the meetings. There might be another person here or there because, although the meetings might be geared specifically for parents or family members to learn to accept and understand their loved one, it's also helpful for me as a gay man when I was that age to kind of talk about these things in a safe and supportive environment and feel a sense of affirmation and support and reinforcement and from these parents and other people. So anyways, about a year or so later, I did write a letter and I gave it to my parents, and that was how I came out to them. And although it did not go particularly well initially, over time as they became more and more familiar and accustomed with the idea that their son is a gay man, and noticing that I haven't changed at all in any way, I'm still the same person. This is just something else that they now know about me. And then eventually, obviously, getting to meet my then boyfriend and developing a nice relationship with him. And now we are just as close to my mom. My father passed away, but we are so super close to my mom and she with me and my husband. And I know that we would not be nearly as close as we are had I not ever come out to them. So it was a great opportunity to have this really honest conversation and honest and genuine relationship with the people that I love.
And PFLAG was a vital piece to your story of being able to facilitate coming out.
Yeah, it was absolutely vital. I mean, if I had never learned of PFLAG or never had gone to a support meeting, I'm sure I would have at some point kind of figured out I need to figure out how to come out to my parents. But it was nice to have the groundwork laid for me that way. And so I was involved with the organization back in the early to mid 90s for 2 to 3 years, just kind of going to support meetings. I think I may have even helped out at an event or something. But then I kind of, backed out, John and I moved in together. We built a life together. I just kind of I was in my 20s, so I was preoccupied with job and all this stuff. So I figured the organization, it served its purpose for that point in my life.
Right.
So I pretty much got uninvolved. And then it was around maybe 2015, and I thought, I've got some time on my hands. I think it's time for me to kind of give back as a volunteer to some kind of an organization. And I thought, why not PFLAG? So I decided to get involved. I started going back to some of the meetings. And I was thinking naively at that time that my story as an out and proud and, you know, happy, well-adjusted gay man would be like helpful conversation to have with the other parents. And it was, but I realized when I first started going back to the meetings in 2015 that the conversation had really shifted to transgender people coming out. And the majority of the parents and family members going to those support meetings in 2015 were there because they had a transgender child or a loved one or family member, and they were just they were struggling with how to understand and accept who, you know, this new information about them. So since then, I've learned an awful lot about the trans community, and I've met some absolutely amazing transgender people who have been so inspirational and brave and have taught me so much. And I still have a lot to learn, but I've learned an awful lot since then.
Absolutely. I think, you know, we're all learning, and that's definitely something that we want everyone to know, that it's for everyone to learn, and, you know, it's
part of growing.
Absolutely.
You know, we're constantly learning new things, whether it's a new language or learning new recipes. And it's, you know, learning about how other people might be. What is it that's unique about them? And then learning about them so that it doesn't seem so foreign or scary or othered.
Right. It's okay to ask these questions and to talk about these things. And we are learning, and that's how we evolve over time.
Exactly. Because if we don't try to understand these things, whether it's this or other issues, then we remain ignorant of them, and then we don't grow, and our society just becomes, I think, even more fractured.
Right, because just how many years ago was this?
52 years ago.
52 years ago, she was just the mother with the sign, and then now fast forward 50 years, if we're not willing to learn or to ask questions because we're nervous, then we don't grow and evolve. And I think that is definitely what we want to do. And that is going back to my original statement of that the movement towards, you know, the diversity, equity, inclusion is that's what we're aiming for. So, you know, if you're watching at home and you may be feeling like, oh, I'm older and this is something I've heard of a topic and it makes me uncomfortable. You know, I was talking to Joe before we started the interview, and I said, you know, I take care of my grandparents, and they're 90 and 91. And when, you know, a subject of diversity, equity, inclusion comes up, they are like, you know, that's not my generation. And I'm like, but why, you know? And I try to open the conversation. And that's what I think that this is really about, and something that we want to bring into the center, that it's okay to ask questions, and we want to bring this.
Yes,
you know?
exactly. It's important to ask. Not only is it okay, but it's important to ask questions so that you don't formulate incorrect answers in your mind.
Yes.
You know, my mother's 87 and a half. I don't know why I round things up to halves, but she's 87. And, you know, our family came to this country when I was 5.5 years old. So my parents bring, you know, a cultural and religious background to their experience that would have been, that initially made it very challenging for them to kind of wrap their minds around the fact that they have a gay son who is in a relationship, who eventually got married. But if they can do it, and my dad is 5 years older than my mother before he passed away, then anyone can do it. I mean, an 87-year-old person with limited, you know, knowledge of English, limited education, cultural and religious background that is very, very different. You know, she, because of love, was able to wrap her mind around this because she loves her son so much, and it was more important for her to understand, and for both my parents, to kind of wrap their minds around this and learn to understand and accept it and have a healthy relationship with their child, rather than refuse to accept it, push it away, and in turn push me away.
Absolutely.
And because of that, we have an amazing relationship.
Absolutely.
Amazing relationship, honesty.
So PFLAG with the support groups, what can you tell me a little bit more about what you all are offering on, you know, Cape Cod?
Yeah. As I mentioned, we have 3 that we host a month. The in-person one we host in Brewster at First Parish Brewster Unitarian Universalist, and that's on the 3rd Monday of every month from 7 to 8:30 p.m. And basically, it's an opportunity for people, whether it's parents, family members, allies, LGBTQ plus people, to come in. We have resources available, like some that I brought here today, and basically just go around the circle and share and talk about our experiences. And we remind people that we are a support group. We are not therapy group. We're not therapists. We're here to basically share our own problem-solving experiences, what has worked for us in terms of understanding, our child or loved one and how our journey has evolved, so that other people who are just entering this journey on their own don't feel so isolated, don't feel so alone, and don't feel so scared. So it's incredibly powerful to witness somebody coming to the meeting who's just distraught. They've just learned that they have a 20-year-old child who for 20 years they've known as, Sam, let's just say. Suddenly, to the parents it's sudden, Sam now, goes by Samantha maybe, whatever, or a different name. And the parents are struggling because to them this is brand new. So they go to this meeting to learn and get more information, learn about these issues. And while they're there, there's another parent who maybe was in the same place 3 or 4 years before. That parent has come so far because they've learned a lot. They've asked the questions, they've read, they've grown so much that now that parent is an incredible support system for the one who just joined. Mm-hmm. And that peer-to-peer, parent-to-parent, family member to family member is incredibly powerful and very, very moving to see that kind of evolution of scared,
Absolutely.
Struggling to secure, proud, supportive. So that's in general what the meetings are about. And like I said, in person and virtual. And like I said, next month we begin our hybrid, in person and online, a Portuguese language support meeting, which I do co-facilitate at Latinx in Action in Hyannis. So, and I do want to say, I brought a bunch of
many goodies. This is my
so
new favorite
goodies.
guest.
So many
bought me so many presents.
But I will say, at the very least, we make all of our resource booklets available at the meetings. For example, this one is called Our Children. It's basically questions and answers for loved ones of LGBTQ plus people. So if you're a parent or a loved one and you've got questions, boom, you take this home, over the course of like the weekend, and you can learn an awful lot. Other things, whether it's helping young people and be yourself, answer questions that they may have, so that if you don't feel like they don't feel like they have to always ask an adult or someone else. They can get their questions answered through this book. Our trans loved ones, faith in our families. If faith is something that is, going to be an issue for you in terms of learning to accept an LGBTQ loved one in your family, this is a very helpful booklet as well. If you're in the military, At Ease, things like that. Guide to being a trans ally, guide to being a straight ally. If you want to just be a general, like if you're a person who's straight and you just want to support the LGBTQ plus community and you just don't know how, it's like lots of useful information. But probably the one that's the most beneficial for your viewers and the people at DECAL is this one that came out 2 years ago, called Supporting Your LGBTQ plus Grandchild. It's super simple. It's only a couple of pages, but it gives you really, really helpful general information so that if you're somebody who didn't grow up with these conversations taking place, it gives you a lot of insight so that if you have a grandchild, or if you have a friend who has a grandchild who's, you've recently learned is trans or lesbian, gay, or non-binary, whatever, this is so helpful, and it's not at all overwhelming. It's just enough information to kind of, educate you without overwhelming you. So
if someone is watching at home and they are totally like, I need all these books or just one, like I need them all. But
sure.
Where do they get them? Are they online? Is there a location?
Well, we try to make this as easy as possible. Whenever our group, or whenever PFLAG Cape Cod has a table at a community event, for example, this past weekend, the YMCA held their Healthy Kids Day event. We had a table there. We make all of our booklets free. Our chapter purchases them from our parent organization,
Okay.
PFLAG National, which is located in Washington, D.C. We purchase all of these booklets, and then we make them available for free. So you can get them at community events, you can get them at our in-person support meetings in Brewster, but we also have on our website, if you go to pflagcapecod.org, along the top you'll see, home and all these other things. The resources menu tab, below that is submenus, and one will say resources, PFLAG booklets. click that little button and it'll take you to the page that has all of these booklets available for free. We will ship them to you for free, no cost. That's single copies of titles. If you wanted 10 copies of this, then we would direct you towards PFLAG National and order it more in bulk. But yeah, we want to make it as easy and basically free or cost effective for people to get this information in their hands, because it's incredibly important and helpful.
Amazing. This is...
It is. But we're able to do all of this, provide these resources at no cost to people because of the incredible generosity of our members and supporters. They see what we do, they see how important and valuable it is, and they really want us to succeed in achieving that.
Now, if someone is watching at home and they think this is really speaking to me, and I want to talk to somebody, or I have more questions,
Sure.
What can they do?
Well, if they just want to kind of just start a conversation, and let's just say they're not quite ready to go to a support meeting, because for some people that is kind of a big leap to begin with, I would say visit our website.
Okay.
Go to pflagcapecod.org.
Okay.
A ton of information that you can learn from. See, kind of get your feet wet, get your bearings, and then when you feel you're ready to kind of reach out, you can certainly just use the little contact form on the website and, reach out. I am actually the one who receives that email, and just say what you're reaching out about. I just learned that a loved one is this or that. I don't know what to do. What should, give me some ideas. At some point, I will say, I encourage you to attend one of our support meetings, because that's really a great first step or second step for some people in terms of learning more information, getting support that they really, really need. So that's what I would say. Get in touch with us, go to our website, go to a support meeting, go to an event where you think we might be present. And,
call the center.
Call
us.
Call Decal, and they can point you in the right direction. Definitely.
Yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing information, resources out there.
And I apologize for interrupting. This is a kind of a new one that we just created last year. It's actually 2 years ago. It's called "This is a Safe Space and You Are Welcome." This was actually created about 2 years ago for when our chapter hosted a symposium for school teachers and educators on how to best support LGBTQ+ children in their schools. And a lot of teachers were really, really drawn to that sign because it's a great, it's small, it's only 5 by 7. They can tack it to their office door, their office bulletin board, or, their classroom wall or whatever. And that sends a signal to any of the children that are in that classroom or in that school that this teacher is a safe person and that I can just be myself around. It sends a signal to people around them. So we make those available as well as our rack cards or brochures on the website. Exactly. Okay. So all of the stuff is here. We're happy to give it away. We even give away, our Progress Pride flags when we're at events. So it's really, really cool.
You guys got all the merch.
Yeah, I'm not going to come here empty-handed. Oh, and by the way, just so you notice, this is what we now call our pronoun pins or pronoun buttons. I'm wearing one that says he, him. It's basically a way of identifying or pronouncing what your gender identity is. In other words, I identify as male, so I use he, him pronouns. If I were, for example, if you identify as a female, you would wear she, her pronoun. Obviously, you don't go around wearing these every day, all the time. But if we're at an event, or a conference, or something, at a meeting, and you really want to set the tone or, make it clear to the people around you that not only is this my gender identity, but I'm kind of sending a signal to anyone else who might be around me who might not necessarily identify as he or she, but might be somewhere in the middle. They might be trans or non-binary, where they don't quite feel like 100% male, 100% female. They see this pin and they know that they've got someone in their corner because I'm sympathetic, I understand, I get where they're coming from. So I'm kind of a safe person to that person who might be in a crowded space with no one else wearing a pin like this. So anyways, we make these available. The young generation loves these pins. They scoop them up
for popular.
For free.
We're going to have to get some pins.
We're going to have to send you some pins, Kelly. We're going to have to come up with a way. But generally, at any kind of event that we are tabling at, those pins are there. And we're going to come up with a couple of others that say, like, I love my LGBTQ+ child.
That's amazing.
Basically, the tagline, I guess, is that what you call it? I think the tagline for PFLAG is leading with love. And our mission is to create a caring, just, and affirming world for LGBTQ plus people and those who love them. But to lead with love is just such a powerful statement, and it's so simple, but it really is the message.
You know, I think this has been amazing. I feel I have learned so much.
Oh, and we could talk for hours.
I could keep going. You know, if they would give me more time, I could just keep going.
You're gonna have to edit this down.
You know, I hope that our viewers at home have really learned a lot. And if, you know, if there was anybody out there that was needing a resource or anything, please know that they are out there and we are here. And PFLAG, you know, we're ready.
We are ready.
We were ready. And I don't know, Joe, if you have anything else that we forgot to mention or to touch on that you wanted to add.
I think we touched on everything. Like I said, all of these resources are available on our website, PFLAG booklets, or at our in-person events. We have our rack cards over there, which, you know, when people come to our table at an event, if they leave with nothing, we try to make sure they at least leave with one of those, because the back side of it really gives you a lot of really helpful information, a little bit of our history, what our mission is, what we do. We offer scholarships to graduating high school seniors. We have a podcast series, which is amazing. A bunch of other things. I can't remember them all, but they're on the back of the card there.
Get a card and you'll know. Well,
Exactly.
We are very excited to have you as a new partner at Decal, and a very, very special thank you for joining me today.
You are very welcome, and it's a pleasure to be a partner of Decal, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Linda Colby, a member of the Elder Abuse Prevention Coalition for Cape Cod and the islands. I deal primarily with residents over 80 years of age and make many home visits to residents who are homebound or have lost their driver's license and are unable to get out of their homes. Making a home visit can be very telling as to how they're taking care of themselves and their homes. I've met many hoarders doing home visits and am now running a group for hoarders at the Senior Center. It started out with running a course, a 16-week course called Buried in Treasures, which is one of the most successful treatments for people with a hoarding disorder. There are many forms of abuse, and most of us think of physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect. We do see neglect because many of our seniors are living here alone on Cape Cod. Their families are all over the country and they have been neglected. They have no one to do food shopping for them. We help them meet a lot of their needs in the community. We have a pantry, a food pantry in Yarmouth, which residents use twice a month. We have a van that picks them up and takes them to do food shopping. Abandonment is something that I see a lot of in the Senior Center, and financial abuse. I think it's most important that we all delegate a healthcare proxy, and that may not necessarily be a member of your family or one of your adult children. Even though we trust them, in the end, I think you have to be very careful about who you choose as your power of attorney and who you choose as your healthcare proxy. This is someone that you want to act in your interests of exactly what it is you want and your end-of-life care. And sometimes turning all your assets over to your children can be a mistake. I've worked with many seniors who have just been relegated to going to a nursing home once they turn all their assets over to their adult children. So this is something that I think we all need to think about. Having a power of attorney might be better off not being a family member, but an attorney who you trust, who can do the best for you in your end-of-life planning.
A big thank you to Joe Lima for joining us today and everyone at PFLAG for their dedication. A heartfelt shout out to our Decal board, volunteers, friends, and supporters for their tireless efforts to bring these events and programs to life. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us on this journey. Here's to a season of growth, connection, and lots of sunshine. That's a wrap on today's episode of Cranberry Scoop TV. See you next time, where we'll continue to share the scoop on all things bright and beautiful right here on Cape Cod.
My name is Melissa Alden. I'm an attorney who practices in Yarmouth Port. I've been on the Cape for over 20 years, and in that time I served as a police officer for the town of Yarmouth. And that's what led me to what I do now as an attorney. As a police officer, what I saw firsthand was we had a large elder population who retired here. They didn't have family members to look out for them. They were victims of abuse, they were victims of neglect. And when I became a full-time attorney, I felt that I needed to focus on this type of practice. We had a lot of elders who needed to either have guardianships or conservatorships over them so as to protect them from their family, but also from outside sources who preyed on them. Again, we have a court system set up here so that they can seek guardianships, whether it's elder services or family members, to ensure that our elders are protected here. There's issues of financial abuse, physical abuse, and stolen medication, that we need to protect our elders in this community. It's our role as members of different towns here to make sure that we're taking care of our individuals. So as a member of our community, what you can do is pay attention to your neighbors, pay attention to your parents and other people in the community that you see out in the community. If you notice changes, our bank tellers are trained to notice large deposits or withdrawals coming out of their accounts, which could trigger an investigation as to a financial exploitation. Our police departments educate us about scams that involve the elders so that they are not exploited. What you can look at is our neighbors in our community. Are they being taken care of? Do you see people coming and going? If you notice bruises that don't seem to fit with a typical fall, there is physical abuse that happens by family members as well as caretakers in our community. And it's our role and our job to take care of them as they have taken care of us as we grew up in our community. Other things you can look for is paying attention to who's coming and going from the home. We have people who have gone into elders' homes and taken their medication, taken over residency, and even family members who hold somebody in fear that they're going to be placed in a home and be taken away from their environment. So as a community, we can work together. We can bridge an intergenerational gap that's been in existence for years and have our elders actually participate in more of our community, and that way we can take care of them by having eyes on them. We need you to come help bridge our gap with our generations. Everyone knows an elder in our community. Everyone has a grandparent, an aunt, or an uncle who could use the help. We need you to become involved and become members of different committees. Yarmouth has a Council on Aging, Dennis has a Council on Aging, and they are working hard to bridge the intergenerational gap. What you can do to become involved is join those committees or help your neighbors and help them access the Council on Aging. You can pay attention to your neighbors. You can become a mentor. What I'm hoping to do and see is have our youth become more involved with our elder population. There's so much that we can learn. There's so many stories that we can learn. I was a lifeguard down in Florida, and I loved to teach the water aerobics because I got to speak with the older population and hear the stories of the careers that they were in, the adventures that they experienced in their lifetime. And what we can do for those older people in our community is make sure they're living out the rest of their lives as healthy and safe as possible.